Hey everybody, what up? All right, so I made a video a few months back on Cursor, and I was basically saying in the video, like I was trying to do a demonstration of using Cursor to work with a technology called 3JS, which is sort of an old, outdated technology. I don't even think it's outdated. Actually, I don't know if it's outdated or not, but it was originally created with WebGL, which is basically the OpenAI standard for web browsers. But it really never took off, in my opinion. It's very difficult to work with, and um, not really sure what people are using it for these days. But anyway, bottom line is I made a video trying to use that technology with Cursor, and it was just failing miserably. And in that time, I had just basically started using Cursor. So I have to admit that that video was not very good at all. I wasn't using Cursor correctly. I was using the auto agent, and it just wasn't very effective. So that said, my evaluation of Cursor, now that I've been using it for about 6 months or so, is that it's a pretty awesome tool. Like, I almost can't imagine coding any other way now that I'm using Cursor. I think it's great, but it's also like herding cats or chasing a toddler around. So while it is great, it's great for people that know how to code because you can actually see all the crazy stuff that it's doing when you ask it to do things. The scary thing is that this thing will like upload code to your repositories. It will do shortcuts and like major hacks and things to get things to work. And if you're not careful, then you're going to get yourself in trouble pretty quickly. So as non-coders using this tool, I do think you can use this tool as a non-coder to kind of create some, basic level websites and projects, but they're going to be definitely like duct taped together way worse than your typical software developer that's experienced in this sort of thing. So yeah, Cursor's come a long way now. Apparently, according to 2 days ago on Bloomberg, they're now valued at over 18 billion. I think that's great for them. The future, though, is going to be uncertain for a company like AnySphere, who created Cursor. And the reason why is because like there's already all kinds of different tools, like IDEs that are integrating with these different AI, generative AI chatbots. So OpenAI just recently bought one. I actually forgot its name, but OpenAI agrees to buy Windsurf for about $3 billion. So this is a brand new IDE that literally I had heard about, but I hadn't actually used it. And it's already been bought for $3 billion. So that's kind of a hefty price tag, but it just shows you that there's a lot of interest in trying to build these IDEs these days that are integrated into AI. And this isn't actually a new thing. I mean, Visual Studio Code has had IntelliCode for a long time. That's I talked about this years ago, really, but IntelliCode's kind of like and it's even been before that, really. But IntelliCode was AI in your development editors all the way back in 2022 and earlier, really. So this isn't a new thing, but what I think is going to be troubling for the Cursor team is that there's a lot of competition here, and that typically when there's a lot of competition and no real front runner, like right now Cursor is the front runner, but it hasn't been for very long. And what's to say that like somebody like Microsoft is not going to swoop in and try to tackle this market with their trillions of dollars? And the same goes for like Google and Meta. So if I had to predict a winner, I don't necessarily think it's going to be Cursor in the long run. Now it could be because there is such a high regard for this tool. But I think that the fact is like it's becoming apparent that there's really no moat. And I think Google had always said that about OpenAI, is that like they don't really have a moat, meaning a protection around their business model. Like a newer generative chatbot is coming out like every other day, it seems like. Some are getting better, some are getting worse. But they all have like different features that they're trained on and things. So behind the scenes, there's just not a whole lot there that's preventing another company that has massive processing power and money like Google and Meta and Microsoft and such to jump in that market. So for all those reasons, I do think that Cursor is great, but who knows? May not be around for years from now. So hopefully the founders make their money, and no matter what, I'm sure that they're going to be well off for the rest of their lives. But we'll see how this market is going to go. But my prediction would probably be that one of the bigger companies is going to win out in this race. Now, one of the problems I do think with Cursor is that you see that there is like now they have basically the max models, right? So you can rack up quite a bit of money, especially using something like Claude AI with Cursor. So that is, in my opinion, the most effective way to use Cursor is with Claude AI. Claude seems to be the best coder. Behind the scenes, though, it turns out that Claude is literally just a generative AI model that is like, trained behind the scenes. Like it's like literally, if this, do that, if this, do that, do that. So although these tools are amazing, they sometimes, like, I think, express like moments of general intelligence. They're really not that, and they're still not that. And until they are that, like, I do feel like our jobs are going to be relatively okay. I do think our jobs are affected right now by AI, but I'll get into that in a different video. But anyway, the behind the scenes Claude itself is just simply a more fine-tuned if-else condition on different programming tasks. So clearly, languages and technologies that are more widely used are more effective when it comes to Claude. But if you're using something that's like brand new or fresh or up and coming, or there's just not a lot of information about it, and one of those things would be probably an example of the video game that I've been developing for 2 years on Unreal Engine, writing with C++. There's not a whole lot of the tools do help me, but they also are, it's a lot of guesswork and things. Like there's just not a lot of precedent there, and if there's not a lot of precedent, then the tool struggles. So they call that like hallucinating, and these tools definitely hallucinate. So I think Cursor is again a great tool. It helps me do a lot of the boilerplate stuff. I love how it can write unit tests and things for me. But again, like, it is like chasing a toddler around, because it will do really stupid things sometimes, and it's constantly putting food in its mouth trying to choke itself to death. So you have to be very, very cognizant of that, especially if you're working on anything relatively complex. So that there's going to continue to be that battle, and I do think it kind of redefines how we do our jobs. So yeah, we are prompting these engines quite a bit, but the idea of, like, people saying, oh, well, the tool is doing that because you're not prompting it well enough is, in my opinion, is sort of ridiculous. Even if I prompt it or create a bunch of context and rules around what it needs to do, it still does its own thing sometimes. But anyway, going back to the paid model, like, you can actually rack up quite a bit of money. One of the things I hate about Cursor is that if I'm using Claude, and I'll even tell it a context like, hey, I'm on a Windows machine, so stop trying to give me a bunch of like, bash commands that don't work on Windows. And those are costing me 5 cents every time this thing's trying to like refigure that out. So it'll be like, 25 cents just to refigure out what I just told you not to do. So the max model, I don't like. I typically don't use it. And sometimes I do find myself actually yelling at the AI, like basically like, why in the hell did you just do what you just did? Undo that, and anyway, so that is kind of this new world that Cursor has sort of created for us as programmers. Like, we now are writing code, reviewing code, and then constantly telling the AI to do something or fix its mistakes that it tried to, that it implemented itself. So I don't know. We're in definitely like this weird state of development, and Cursor is at the forefront of it. So yeah, to sum it up, I think the Cursor AI tool is my preferred way of developing these days. The benefits definitely outweigh the cons. The cons are very frustrating, but I do think we'll probably get better as time goes on. I think who knows, but this could be one of those snake eating its own tail sort of situations where eventually this thing's going to learn off of so much crappy AI generated code that our new standard of coding is going to be crappy AI generated code. And, ultimately our jobs are going to be who can figure out this crap faster than the rest and see through the slop that it's creating. So there's going to be, I think, jobs for the foreseeable future in that regard. So that's it for this video. I do want to actually talk about some other, basically how AI has changed the coding landscape and what I've seen over the last several years. But yeah, I'm in the trenches still taking grenades in regards to all this stuff. But yeah, if you're interested in VR gaming, check out the game that I created 2 years making. The trailer is following.